In the past, surnames were used to group people by occupation, place of origin, clan affiliation, patronage, parentage, adoption, and even physical characteristics like red hair. Many of the modern surnames in the dictionary can be traced back to Britain and Ireland. Here is the history of the Ndwandwe clan with links to amaShangane and amaJere, or the aBaNgoni. The Ndwandwes are a subgroup of the Nguni people who populate sections of southern Africa. The Ndwandwe lived around Nongoma in the 1780s and 1990s, while the Mthethwa lived between Empangeni and Mount Mfolozi in the north. To their west lived the Qwabe. At the end of the 18th century, the struggle for dominance grew with the expansion of groups like the Mthethwa, the Ndwandwe, and the Qwabe, then later the Zulu. King Zwide kaLanga, born in 1758 and died in 1825, reigned over the Ndwandwe Nxumalo from around 1805 to 1820. He was the son of Mkhonto or Langa II, son of Xaba, Sikhove, son of Ndwandwe. Langa II, Nxumalo or Ndwandwe ruler, had two sons. His rightful heir, Zwide, born of Lamkwanazi, and Soshangane Manugusa, born of Lazigode. The Nxumalos praised him as Zwide kaLanga or Mkhachwa. Legend has it that Zwide's mother, Queen Tombazi, was a Sangoma. Historians say she infamously collected the skulls of kings conquered by Zwide because it made her feel powerful. Soon after the death of their father, Zwide and Soshangane, in a cooperative effort, victoriously attacked the Majozi people and killed their leader. Soshangane, on behalf of Zwide, also attacked the Mthethwa and the Mantansi people. These raids were used by Soshangane to expand his power, and some of the raids took place without Zwide's approval. By 1810, Zwide had built a powerful centralized kingdom and reinforced his power using his extensive family. He also formed feared amavuto such as the amaPela, the abahlakabezi, and izqichi, and the amankaiya. Most of these were around before Shaka became king of the Zulus, and the Ndwandwe were so large that they split into semi-autonomous sections such as the Nxumalo, the Manqele, and the Pisheni. At first, Zwide concentrated his raids to the north around modern-day Eswatini. The Ndwandwe attacked Sobuza of the Dlamini Swati, north of the Pongolo River, many times, but the 1815 attack was characterized by extreme violence. Sobuza was forced to flee along with his family. His people were almost destroyed. The attack makes little sense because Zwide had married one of his daughters to Sobuza. The Dlamini were already facing raids from the east, from closer to Delagoa Bay. The Ndwandwe were regarded as bandits and destabilized that part of southern Africa, then turned their attention further south. Zwide attacked the Khumalo people living between the Kuze and White Mfolozi rivers, and eventually Donda of the Khumalo was killed by Zwide. The year 1815 is seen as highly significant because it was then that Matiwane of Ngwane was driven out of what he thought was a well-defended area between the Vivane River and Upper Mfolozi. Matiwane relaxed after some years of building his power base, after concluding an alliance with the Qwabe and then the Mthethwa. Out of the blue, Zwide dispatched his men and they fell upon the aBaNgoni, driving them out of their homes. This moment is regarded as the first of many destabilizing events between the Thukela and the Pongola that led to a movement of people across the country, the subcontinent, and migration epic oral storytelling called it Mfecane. Dingiswayo's famous general and protege, King Shaka of the Zulu kingdom, was also his great rival. Around the time Zwide became chief, the Ndwandwe were growing in military power. Zwide, like Shaka, sought to expand his borders, and in 1818 he destroyed the power of the Mthethwa kingdom, overran the neighboring Nxumalo kingdom, and executed their king Mashobana Kamangete, his son-in-law. However, Mashobana's son and heir, Mzilikazi, escaped from the Ndwandwe and sought refuge with Shaka. Remember that Shaka had also reformed the remnant Mthethwa clan under his rule. Zwide, knowing this, planned to destroy the Zulu kingdom to secure Ndwandwe's domination of Zululand. However, in 1820, he led his army into battle against the Zulu at the Battle of the Mkhonto River. Unfortunately, Zwide's forces were crossing halfway across the Mkhonto River when the Zulu forces attacked. The Ndwandwe army was scattered, but Zwide wasn't killed in the battle. Shaka and his impi then set out to go and kill Zwide before news broke out that his army had been defeated. When they approached the gate, they were chanting Zwide's name, making them think it was their army approaching the gate and thus gaining access. When they entered Zwide's homestead, they outnumbered his royal guard and killed Zwide. After Zwide's death, the Zulus marched to the Ndwandwe capital, attacking it and taking the Ndwandwe by surprise. The Zulu victory was the beginning of the scattering. Zwide's generals fled north, establishing their own kingdoms, such as the Gaza kingdom formed by his general Soshangane. Soshangane is the redoubtable chieftain who broke away from the hegemony of Zulu King Shaka and carved out a Nguni empire of conquest, Gaza or Gaza, in what is now modern-day Mozambique. Allied with the remnants of the Ndwandwe tribe in 1819, Soshangane fled after defeat by Shaka. He moved north into Mozambique, absorbing or conquering numerous followers. His army overran the Portuguese settlements at Delagoa Bay, Inhambane, and Sena, and he extracted tribute from the Europeans. A punitive expedition sent by Shaka to liquidate his former rival was seen off in 1828, and Soshangane consolidated his empire. After the death of Soshangane around 1856, his empire was embroiled in succession disputes. The final ruler, Gungunyane, was defeated by the once tributary Portuguese in 1895, and the Nguni Gaza Empire collapsed. Soshangane, it must be said, is one of several outstanding figures who rose to prominence during the Mfecane. The other military commander of the Ndwandwe army was Zwangendaba 1780 to 1848. Head of the Jere or Gumbi, a Ngoni clan which itself formed part of the larger aBaNgoni alliance in what is now northeast KwaZulu-Natal. As mentioned above, in 1819, the Ndwandwe alliance was defeated by the Zulu army under Shaka at the Battle of Mkhonto River near Nkandla. Many of the Ndwandwe fled, and over about 20 years, Zwangendaba led a small group of his followers north through Mozambique and Zimbabwe to the region around the Fipa Plateau between what is now Zambia, Malawi and Tanzania. That is why we also have amaShangane in Guyana, which are now about 1.5 million, but this group is called amaJere. In this region, he established a state using Zulu warfare techniques to conquer and integrate local people. Following Zwangendaba's death in 1848, succession disputes split the Nguni people into 5 groups, some of whom moved to new territories. In Malawi, there are the following Nguni groups: Jere Ngoni of Mshinji and Paramount Chief Empangeni, whose actual residence is close to Chipata, Zambia; Jere Ngoni of Mzimba under Paramount Chief Mbelwa Maseko Ngoni of Dedza, under Paramount Chief Chindamoto and Kachere Maseko Ngoni of Nxewu, under Paramount Chief Bomani Maseko Ngoni of Tolo and Paramount Chief Vumbwe.